All right, everybody. Comments, questions, debate topics, leave them in the live stream. Here we go. Our first news item of the week. Notre Dame offensive lineman Dillan Gibbons, who I understand was vying for the left guard position at Notre Dame and was in pretty good shape for that entering spring ball. But then they had a couple incoming freshmen, Rocco Spindler in particular, who showed out big time. And apparently Mr. Gibbons, who had one start in his career, that coming against Syracuse, and actually had some quite a bit of significant playing time against the Noles last year. He is headed toward Tallahassee, Logan.
He is a nice pickup here. It's nothing to be like, oh my God, Florida State's running game is going to be incredible, and Mackenzie Melton or Jordan Travis is going to be able to throw tons of yards. No, but this is going to be a big help. Definitely, maybe even the locker room too. You're bringing in a veteran guy that's played in big games. He played in the Rose Bowl and the latest college football playoff. He's played in the ACC championship game, and he's played obviously through his tenure at Notre Dame. So you're bringing in experience, a guy that can help and also be moved around. I'm interested to see where Coach Atkins is actually going to throw him at, because I think there's going to be a lot of adjusting during this fall camp on who fits where. But I think, it's nothing to get too crazy about, but you do bring in some depth that is needed. People have been complaining about trying to fill up the trenches. What is Mike Norvell doing? They're getting playmakers all over the place, but they're not filling up guys on the line. Well, you can't cry this week, at least. Florida State got an experienced guy from Notre Dame that is a pretty good player too. So, Florida State and FSU fans, they shouldn't be complaining, at least this week.
Question for you, Logan. What are the chances legitimately? You talk about how he's not it's not the big 5-star guy, but he's a good quality player. What are the chances he starts against the Fighting Irish in that opener on September 5th?
I'm interested to see. I think, like I was saying earlier, the fall camp is gonna be the biggest thing, because you're bringing back Devontae Love-Taylor, who is a guy that could probably work anywhere on that line. Could Gibbons be a center guy? Is Maurice Smith going to stay there? It just depends. Who is he going to be facing against his former team in the first game of the season? You'd probably maybe like to see that, because this guy has been facing that defense for a good amount of years now. It's going to be a storyline to watch. But I think I'm 50-50 on it. I think I would say more of a better chance of him starting than him not starting. I don't know. We just got to watch this fall camp. You give me always these questions, Jason, and then whenever someone can clip it, then they can screw me over, and then I'm completely wrong, and then they get me. 4 months in advance, at least get me a fall camp. Give me 1 week of practice. I need something.
After asking Mike Norvell all those hard-hitting questions on Saturday, I felt like I had to bring them to you too.
So now you're bringing me the hard ones.
Right. That's what's happening.
Hey, James, for an offensive lineman who missed spring camp with Florida State but participated at Notre Dame, so another huge program, what do you think the adjustment is going from campus to campus and scheme to scheme, as he's basically going to step on the field for the first time with everybody in August, but he's going to have a lot of drills and conditioning and workouts before that?
I think the hardest thing is to determine. You have to unlearn what you learned at Notre Dame, and you have to kind of relearn what's going on here. And then outside of that, it's the acclimation to the different environment. Like, it's hot. And it's weird. It's not just a true heat. We're in rainy season right now too, so you're gonna have to get used to those things. But I think that month fall camp should if he has good technique and he's smart, he's gonna be able to come in and at least push somebody's job. One of the things that I think gets missing in the fact that we're not getting the quote unquote high end transfer portal offensive lineman is the fact that we just need straight up competition. Like, there's nobody, like, this makes a big mistake, as I've seen a couple times in some of the practice footage. Who are you going to pull him for, because the guy behind it is bad. It'd be worse. But now, Lucas makes that mistake, and you got a guy who may not be a bulldozer, but is literally fundamentally sound and is at least going the correct path and doing what's necessary day in, day out. That makes for a much better offensive line. Again, it keeps people on their toes. So That's what I'm for with him. And you know, if I find another guy, then that'd be great. I just don't. I'm trying to figure out how they're finagling the scholarship system. Like, because I mean, it's awesome. I mean, if he could get some of these guys to be walk-ons, then I think their value went a lot higher than what we initially all thought.
Jason, this is your collective whipping boy right here at the offensive line, and it's somewhat improving.
That's why, but I mean, it's kind of funny because Logan tried to take a shot there at me, but then Logan started off his commentary by saying it wasn't a big time player. It's not a big time move. Look, get as many guys as possible. Let the best guy play. I get where James is coming from. You know, Logan and I talked about this before. You know, he's a Clearwater guy. He's a Florida guy, so he knows the summer in Florida. That being said, he hasn't been here for a few years because he's been up in South Bend. At this point, I have no hopes and dreams for that offensive line. The offensive line was not great last year. It hasn't been great for about 5 years. So at this point, it can't get worse. That's the way I'm looking at this season. Florida State football 2021. It can't get worse. Well, I mean, it could. It actually could get worse, but you know, we're gonna have some positivity.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I mean, I still have a lot of belief, and I think a lot of fans do, and people covering the team have a lot of belief in Coach Atkins and what he's doing. I think he's had a successful past record and where he's came from, and so it's still the thing with this position group. It's going to take some time. It's not going to be a whole 180 in a year, 2 years, 3 years. It's a growing and slow building process, but once you get there, I think it's harder to crumble than it is to build. So I think Coach Atkins is doing the right thing, and Mike Norvell is. You know, they've got to have depth there on that offensive line. You lose one or two tackles like that, or offensive linemen, you're in deep doo-doo heading into the season and going in the middle of the season near the end. So they needed a guy like this, and you're bringing in experience not only on the field, but Mike Norvell's. You can tell with some of these guys that he's bringing in, he also likes the leadership and these veteran guys coming into the locker room too from successful programs. He's coming from Notre Dame, who's has had some successful seasons,
And you got to give, and I'll give Logan's man, Coach Norvell, Coach Atkins, some credit on this one. You've got a guy coming in from a playoff team. Notre Dame was a team that, like Logan said, went to the ACC championship game. Was one of the 4 teams in the college football playoff. It's not like he's coming from a scrub school. So there's got to be something to get him to go from Notre Dame to Florida State.
And he was battling for a starting job.
Right.
That's what was reported at Notre Dame.